Today we're going from 0 to 100 on Stagelight's drum machine. Let's do it. Hi, Matthew Presley here again with another episode of Stagelight 0 to 100. Episode 2 is going to cover the drum machine. We're going to go over everything from top to bottom. How to choose kits, choose patterns, make patterns, edit patterns, import your own sounds, you name it. We have a lot to cover. Let's dive right in. Okay, we started a brand new song and we have our Stagelight's drum machine front and center. Let's go over the things on the top menu. First things first, we always start with a default kit. That's not what you want. You can touch our kit menu and it's going to show you our kit browser. Our kit browser at the top has a drop down to let you choose kits from different packs you may have installed from our store. You can also browse user-made kits, which we'll get into. But to audition a kit, you just touch. It's going to load it and give you a little bit of a preview. I think I'm just going to go with our default 4.0 kit for this one. To choose a drum kit, just hit the plus button and it's going to load up all your samples like so. If you've made some changes to a drum kit, maybe you've added something to it, quick tip, you can touch the drum kit icon here and you can save your drum kit right there. Let's move on. Let's talk about drum patterns. We have our drum pattern section right over to the right here, and same thing. If you touch pattern, you're going to get a list of all of your drum patterns. As usual, some basic filters. Well, we have all the ones that we make internally. You can also make and save your own patterns. Let's pick a pattern. Sounds good. To pick it, hit the plus button, and boom, now I've got a pattern. Now, let's say I've made some changes to the pattern. You know, with adding patterns, you can add notes just by touching. So while I got this going, this is a 2-bar pattern, so it has a couple of different pages to go to edit stuff to. But I can add stuff by touching on or off. I can also quickly adjust velocity of any hit by dragging up and down. But another cool thing I can do is I can also swipe. So I'm going to go to page 1 here, and I'm going to go ahead and swipe and do a quarter note pattern, or a half note pattern. That's going to carry over from page 1 to page 2. Let's hear it. Let's cover pages here. So I have a follow button here that when I hit play, it's going to jump from page 1 and show me page 2 automatically. If I want to focus on a page, I can turn follow off and I can stay on a page to edit to my heart's content. Now, besides editing notes this way, we also have one extra mode, and that is MIDI Editor mode. If I move further to the right to this I section here, I can click the I, and now I can see all my notes in MIDI. This lets you edit our drum machine just like you do in our MIDI editor. If I hit the inspector button here, I get our MIDI inspector. That allows me to do things like grab a bunch of notes at once, and maybe I want to transpose them up or down or left or right, all by grid. You can also do some things like nudge them between the grid lines, adjust all the velocities in a group, adjust their start and end, quantize them, etc. It's really good if you really like to get into editing really fine resolution drums. Let's move on now. I want to go back to my step sequencer. I want to cover our drum menu options over here. A drum menu option lets you set the pattern size from 1 bar up to 8. You'll notice if I change it to 4 bars, it automatically added each page down here. And it automatically copied my existing information that I had there onto those empty bars. Let's go ahead and just take it down to 1 for this. I have a time signature display that shows me the time signature of the current beat, and some basic edits here. We have clear all, clear row, save a drum pattern as, or export MIDI. Let me show you how that works. Let's say I want to ditch all these toms. I can go here, I can hit clear row, just my toms are gone. Next, let's get into adding drum sounds. I have a simple 8-pad kit here. If I want to make it 9 or more, I simply hit the plus button down here. Doing so is going to show me a sound browser, which displays all the drum sounds that I have installed. At the top, I have a main filter that'll let you sort all your drum sounds by packs that you've installed from our store or user content that you've imported. Let me show you how to audition a sound. Same as loops, same as drum kits. You touch it, you audition it. If you like it, you can press the plus button and it's going to add it to the lane. If you want to add more than one sound, use our drag and drop. You can audition a sound and just drag and drop it to the bottom, and it's going to keep adding and adding. Another quick tip, if you want to replace a sound, just drag and drop it on top of any one of these and it will replace it. Last but not least, we get asked this a lot, is how can I import my own drum sounds? To do that, go to the top, go to the user section. I haven't imported any drum sounds. This is perfect. Let's hit the import button and let's do it. When you press the import button, based on what platform you're on, we're going to bring up your browser for it. And this lets me browse. Maybe I have something on my iPad. Maybe I have something on iCloud or Google Drive. Doesn't matter where you get it from. You can go ahead and just find the file you want and import it like so. Here I just imported a chilled trap 808. Let's hit the audition button and take a look at it. Well, it's not just one drum hit, it looks like it's several. Let's go ahead and add that to this. Now that we've imported something, let's see how to edit that. To edit any of the sounds in your list, you're going to want to show the drum inspector. To do that, hit this little arrow here, and voila. I have this slot selected, and that shows me the waveform and all of my options for this. You'll notice the waveform updates as I'm selecting these. Let's take a look at the drum inspector. At the very top, I've got a menu that has some of the same menu items, such as clear row of notes. I can move a lane up or down. I can duplicate a lane, rename it, or change the sound. Immediately below that is the wave view. You'll notice as I audition this, it's playing the entire loop. Probably not what I want in my drum machine. Let's go ahead and crop out what we want. I think I like this centerpiece. To do that, just touch and drag to the point where you want the sample to start. Good. Below the wave, you have your stretch mode. This changes how your tune knob affects your sound. Right now it's smart, and you'll hear if I turn tune up, the duration of the waveform stays intact. If I go to vinyl mode, turning it down, it's going to make the wave go out slower and play back longer. And vice versa, if I turn it up, it's going to play back really, really fast. You can do things like that. You can change the direction, such as reverse. And below here, you have simple mixing options. So if I want to mute this lane, I've muted it. You can tell it's muted by its kind of grayed out color there. I can solo it, which you'll see it kind of blackens out everything else, so you're only going to hear the patterns on this row. I can adjust the gain. I can shave off the low cut or high cut. I can pan a sound left or right, or I can apply it to a choke group. Choke groups were designed for hi-hats. So if you look on this kit, I have a simple closed hat sound and I have an open hat sound. This means that lowest row of the choke group will always have priority. So if I want to go ahead and swipe in here, you hear it switch over to the open hi-hat and essentially choke out the one on the top row. You can assign any amount of things to it, but it's obviously designed for hi-hats and cymbal sounds. Use at your own discretion. Last but not least, we have effects. Now, these aren't like track effects. These are effects per drum slot. So if I want to apply like a compressor or a distortion on this snare, I drop it in. I can choose a preset. Let's see what Mangler sounds like. I want to maybe change the mix of that, you can. And just add a little bit of character to your sounds, like so. And that is it for the inspector. Let's move on to one of my favorite parts of our drum machine, our graphs. Now, I showed you initially you can get to graphs here through the menu, but I'm going to go ahead and hide the inspector and show you another way. You can also get to graphs by just simply double tapping on any of these headers. Let's take a look at the hi-hat. Double tap, boom, I've got my graphs. We're going to default to the velocity graph first, which just lets you adjust the velocity of every individual hit. That's cool, but that's certainly not all. We have a whole list of graphs that allow you to customize your beat and perfect it. And all of this is per hit. So panning per hit. Maybe I want to send some hi-hats left or right. Maybe I want to adjust the pitch of certain hits. Try that in vinyl. There you go. You get the idea. Lots of other options. You can draw graphs for the high cut per low cut per hit. Subdivide is a favorite. Take a hit and just divide it into 1, 3, 5, up to 8. Push and pull is another good one. It's good for pushing hits individually left or right. Kind of similarly to how I showed you in the MIDI editor, but you can really customize it. And it just kind of adds this kind of human feel to your beat. You can also reverse individual hits. Probably not a good example on a hi-hat. Try it on a kick or a crash maybe. Cool sounds. You can also add jitter to your velocity. So every hit is a little bit different in velocity or pan. Last but not least, if you get in the weeds with this, as I should say, and like, man, I'm not really feeling the pan jitter, you have a clear automation button at the bottom that's just going to clear what you have selected. So I just cleared my pan jitter. Maybe I want to clear my velocity jitter too. Simple as that. Once you're done with this, you can get out of this view just by double tapping on the header again, and you can move on to another one. Double tap and edit away. Now, there's one thing I left off the top menu which we're going to go into, and that is pattern automation. This isn't just a drum machine thing. Pattern automation works on audio patterns, MIDI patterns, etc. So there's pattern automation. Pattern automation really has more to do with automating things specifically on your drum track or your audio track or your instrument track. Let me hop out of the drum editor and let me show you some things. Track level items. You can automate per pattern our volume, mute solo, pan, filtering, any effects. Let's go ahead and add an effect. Let's add a bit crusher. I'm going to go ahead and just... Sounds good. I'm going to turn the wet mix of that down. Now let's go back into the drum editor. If I click the pattern automation button, you can see I can add an automation curve for volume. I can add automation curve for pan. I can have it mute and solo at certain times. Not all those are ideal for every type of track. In this case, I'm going to go to my tracks insert effect, the bit crusher, and I'm going to automate the wet and dry mix to go up for this part. When you get to the automation editor, it's going to blank out and you're going to have these simple tools. I can draw a line tool, and you'll hear it start clean and then go to dirty really quickly because I'm drawing from 0 to 100% wet. We also have a paint tool as well, and you can just draw something like that if you want and vary it out. If I close out of this and let's go to bit crusher, you're going to see the automation occurring like so. This can be done with any insert effect, any VST or audio unit effect, and it's per pattern. Meaning if I copy and paste this pattern, that automation goes with it. Everything I've done inside this goes with it, etc. That wraps up episode 2 covering the drum machine. If there's anything you think we missed or you have questions, comment below. If you liked this video, go ahead and subscribe and you'll be first to know whenever we come out with episode 3 next week covering Loop Builder. Thank you guys again for watching. Talk to you soon. Take it easy.